Yeah, well, it's all new, I would argue now. Certainly in the medical system, it's not there, but that's what we're trying to change. In fact, what I think it is, I hope the not too distant future, it'll be getting your genome sequence so you can predict your genetic risk for disease. We're working on new technologies for that. But it's also these big data, it's these deep molecular measurements on proteins, RNA, metabolites, that can give insights into your biological state, if you will. And when you see shifts, like if you start seeing liver molecules shifting in either the RNA or proteins, you can catch that early. And by having big data profiles, you do much, much better than what's being done in the clinical tests. Now, I want to be clear that what we're doing is research. We don't know which technology is going to be the best, the easiest to act on. And of course, some of them are really expensive. Some of them are not so expensive. They're pretty cheap. And so we evaluate all that as we go along. So I think in the future, I'm hopeful that a subset of these things will become routine to get sort of deep profiles on people as part of their normal healthcare. And I think to help promote that, we've launched some companies. So what I'm doing in the lab is a research project to be able to do these deep profiles on people. But the way to scale this, we think, is to spin off companies. So we formed a company, QBio, for example, that does a medical version of what I just described, but also adds whole body MRI, which we think is a pretty big deal. And I can tell you, this still bucks against medical establishment. Certainly when we started, virtually everyone said sequencing people's genomes is a bad idea. You're going to get people paranoid about their genetic risk, and they're going to do zillions of dollars of follow-up tests, et cetera. And now I don't think, still some people say that, not so much, but it's true in the whole body MRI field. All physicians hate that. And we think it's quite valuable. They'll tell you, you shouldn't get whole body MRIs because you'll see nodules. Men always have nodules in their prostate. Women have them in their ovaries. And they're there, but that's not the point. We all have them. The point is, are any of them growing? And the only way you know that is to get multiple samples over time. And if you see any growing, well, then you worry about it. So what you're looking for is growing nodules, not nodules. And a good example is I have a dense spot on my spine and it's not growing. This is not uncommon. 10% of people have this. But if I were to get cancer and then they did a whole body MRI, they'd see this thing on my spine and say, oh, it probably metastasized, but it's always been there. And so we think it's very useful to have these baseline deep data measurements on people so that you can see shifts. And again, that's been very, very powerful for me. I've had 2 major health discoveries on me as we've done this profiling. I'm one of the 109, and happy to talk about that further if you like.